Welcome to Let's Talk. I'm Salley Gibney. Today we're going to talk about the Long Trail. And I have three friends here who are actually hiking the Long Trail. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Robin Chandler,
Sally.
Kit Wallace, and Janet Chandler. You guys are so neat. I just can't believe you're actually doing this. Now, could each of you just tell us a little bit about yourselves?
I'm Robin Chandler, and I've lived in Dorset since 1968.
Wow.
And I am a neighbor, a wonderful neighbor of Sally's. And I work at Chandler Four Corners, the business that my husband and Janet's husband, David, owned.
That's great. And how many children do you have?
I have two children, Willie and Alice, ages 26 and 25.
Wow. We'd never believe that.
I know. I don't believe it.
Kit, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've lived here full-time for 8 years, but my family, I've been coming up here since actually 1968 as well,
Really?
when my father bought some land in Dorset Hollow. And now I work at I'm the business manager at the Dorset Theatre
Yes.
Festival.
And it's really come along, hasn't it?
It has. It's been having a
Oh,
wonderful, wonderful season.
It's absolutely fabulous,
Yeah.
and you do a wonderful job.
Thank
It's
you.
incredible.
Thank you.
Janet, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I've been here for 16 years. My husband David and I moved here. I've got two children, Meg and Jamie, who are 23 and 20.
Wow.
And I teach up at the Pulteney High School. I teach social studies. So it's a wonderful opportunity to hike with my friends and get out. And
you've lived
so on.
around the world, haven't you?
We moved here from Burma. We'd been in Asia for about 10 years, where we
Wow.
lived in the Philippines and Thailand and Burma. So
Wow.
yes, spent a lot of time in Asia.
That's for another
Yes.
show.
That's for another show. Thanks,
Now,
Sally.
how did you get started with this? First of all, who's going to tell us a little bit about the Long Trail?
Well, I don't know too much about it, except that it is the oldest trail in the States, and it predates the Appalachian Trail, and it's a just over 272-mile trail.
Wow.
That starts at the Massachusetts border and goes all the way up through the state of Vermont, all the way to the Canadian
Wow.
border.
It more or less follows the spine of the Green Mountains.
Right, and
Wow.
the Appalachian Trail runs with it up until about Pico, and at which point the Appalachian Trail heads east up into New Hampshire and then into Maine, and then the Long Trail continues as a single trail all the way up to the border.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you ever come up with the idea of walking the Long Trail?
The three of us walked, I don't know if you've heard of this, it was a group that is still going, but a group that Lynn Geiger did, and it was
Yeah.
called Training for More, which was women going out and either walking or running to train to do a half marathon.
Uh-huh.
We decided one winter, I think I was the instigator of that, said, come on, let's go do this. And so we did that, and we did our half marathon, and we were all really pleased with ourselves and could walk afterwards. And these two were walking one day. I wasn't part of this conversation. And next time we walked, they said, guess what we're doing now? And I was like, what? And they were like, we're going to hike the Long Trail. I said, no, we're not. And I said, yeah, we are. And I said, all right, I will hike the Long Trail, but I am not sleeping overnight. We are not camping. Well, that changed also. But I think that was just sort of, I don't know. Just
So
another
something-
Where did you
challenge.
come up with the idea of the Long Trail?
Well, I just think that, as Robin said, it was a challenge. It was a physical challenge. We'd sort of done our half marathon. We thought maybe it would be something to do, and it's just a wonderful way to see Vermont.
Oh, I'll bet.
And so, I don't know, it just kind of popped into our heads, and we thought, well, let's give this a try.
So how did you get started?
So we started, our very first hike was 4 years ago. It was in the fall of 2011.
So you've been doing this for 4 years?
Yes. And really, we have tried to hike more or less in the fall and in the spring, not so much in the summer for a variety of reasons. Work schedules, bugs, and just
And crowds.
heat and crowds.
Oh, crowds,
Especially the
yeah.
Appalachian Trail part can there can be more
Really?
people. So we just have done a little bit at a time. So we that very first year, I look back in our book. We carry these books. We have a map, but we also carry this book that takes the trail and breaks it into sections. So we only really did about 5 miles that fall. It was just a look-see, and
do
then
we really wanna do
right.
this?
And
Yeah,
then we
sure.
started a little bit more in earnest the following spring. So that's kind of what we've done.
So how do you break it up for us now? How you start out like in the morning, or how do you do this?
Well, again, this book, it really breaks it up, and it breaks the long trail into 12 sections. And each section's approximately, it's 25 miles, give or take. And so we look at this, and because we have decided that camping out is not exactly the thing we want to do, we break it up into chunks of manageable hiking distance for us, where it crosses roads so that we can drive, and we leave a car at the end, and we drive to the beginning, and we hike, and we just juggle
And then
the
you
cars.
come back. You come back. Now, have you ever spent the night? Have you ever
Once.
slept
Did
over?
once.
And what was that like?
It was cold. It was,
We didn't sleep.
and we slept in a shelter, and
With
I
5
brought
men.
What did I bring? Like peppermint spray or something. I was worried about mice in the shelter, so I was spraying around with this concentrated peppermint oil.
And these guys came along who were also hiking the trail, and we shared our lean-to with them, and they were like, "Smell like peppermint." And Kit explained that she had taken care of the mice for the night with her little peppermint oil.
Now, this is just like a shelter that's there, that a lean-to, or
Yes,
what is
it's
it?
a lean-to. So the section where we spent the night is we started. We did the Glastonbury Wilderness. So we did a 23-mile section in 2 days, and we started at Route 9 outside of Bennington, and went up. We did 10 miles that first day, and we spent the night in the Goddard shelter. So it is a lean-to. So it's a 3-sided thing. It's open, and we spent the night, and then hiked another 13 miles out the next day.
Wow. Now, do you cook there? I mean, you bring...
So
now,
Robin-
what I want to do is will you share with everybody what you bring?
Well, this isn't what we would have brought that night, because this is just my day pack. So I have my Camelback with my water bladder that I fill with. I'm very superstitious, so I always have the same stuff with me. So I fill that up with half red Gatorade and half water. And that's about 2 liters. And then we have our map and a book, the same as Janet
book,
showed.
yeah.
This is a water filter that we always bring with us. So we can pretty much get water out of streams,
Oh, really?
anything we can find. Yeah, and it pumps. And so we don't have to carry as much water as we might need.
Oh,
It's
that's
just
a
nice
great
to have
idea.
that.
Oh, that's great.
What else do I have in here? I think that's about it. Extra socks, nothing very exciting. But we always have Advil. We always have chocolate, and I always have Gatorade, and I always have pretzels. So that's my hike. I mean, that night we had big packs, we had sleeping bags, we had sleeping pads.
We had. I guess we brought brought dehydrated
food
'cause
that night.
Yeah.
Because we had a little jet boil, and
Right.
we didn't. It's not. You can't. I guess you could make a fire. We did make a fire,
We
but
did
for
make a
cooking,
fire.
it would. You didn't want to bring all the stuff you needed for
Right, yeah.
cooking.
So it's just a jet boil that just simply boils water in a couple of minutes, and then you put the boiling water into the
Now you have to
freeze-dried
start a
food.
fire, or how do you do
No,
that?
it's a self-contained.
Is it
there's
battery kind of?
There's a fuel cell,
cell.
and then it lights, and it's very lightweight, and it just heats water, and then we did freeze-dried food. So we did spend the night there that night at the Goddard shelter, and it was quite an adventure. We met these really wonderful young men, some who are through hiking the trail, and 2 of them actually they take care of that shelter. So they, the Long Trail, the Green Mountain Club divides the trail up, and so different people take care of different sections. So they have chosen to have that be their thing. So they hike into this shelter twice a year, and they kind of clean it up
Fix
and
it
they
up
take
and-
care of
and-
it. Yeah. So
So
they
the-
were really delightful. It was fun.
Oh, that's neat. Now, the Green Mountain Club, does that maintain
Yeah.
the trail?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're located up outside of Waterbury, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
They've been
yeah.
around since the early 1900s.
Right.
Tom at the Dorset Library gave me a book on the history of the Long Trail,
Oh,
which
did
I've
he?
been gradually reading through, and it's fascinating because it was started just as the sort of gleam in someone's eye that had liked to hike, and he was up on the top of a peak and looked and said, "Wouldn't it be nice if we could hike easily from one end of the state to the other?" And then the
Oh, wow.
issues
And that was
they
in
had
1910.
Yeah, so the issues they had to do to get it going, and the number of volunteers who participated, including building the shelters, and now even now maintaining them and maintaining the trail.
So that's
So
very
the book
interesting.
too, also, as you read through section by section, it takes you through each section of the trail and tells you about elevation and what to expect as you're hiking and so forth. But it also talks about the building of these shelters. Some of them were built by the CCC during the Depression. Some of them were built by various people who just love to hike, and they're maintained and they're endowed. And so there are many Vermont names that are attached to this trail that make it really interesting to know that people who have hiked and love the mountains have donated money, donated time to keep this trail going.
That's exciting when you think about it.
It
Yeah.
is.
You
It's
know, the
very
history
exciting.
is so important.
Yeah, it is.
You see people of all ages, I'm sure. Do you see?
We don't see too
families?
many young people. We see a lot of single people hiking the trail alone, with couples, you know, fathers,
Brothers and sons,
sons. We see young
Groups of
women,
friends,
groups of friends.
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But not a lot of people. Relative to the people that you would see. I mean, right around Manchester right now, you know, all the through hikers for the Appalachian Trail. You know, you can always
is
see them
that?
outside EMS
Ah.
or hitchhiking up and down
I was
Bromley
wondering
Mountain.
about that. Now
Yeah,
that's more the Appalachian
Yes.
Trail.
Yes.
most of them
Yes.
are doing that.
Right.
And but we don't really see that many people on the trail.
Yeah, I think it's because of the time of year, because we really do on the shoulder seasons. 'Cause,
Right.
Yeah. Have you ever been nervous? I mean, was there ever a time when you kind of felt
No.
No.
that's so neat?
Yeah.
You know, we're very prepared in terms of the food we take and make, you know, our water sources, and, you know, we're sort of fair weather hikers. So we have canceled on an occasion, or we certainly, you know, we're not interested in hiking through the rain. We have that luxury of making that choice. So we haven't encountered too much weather, although that Glastonbury hike.
Tell us about that.
Well, that 13 miles that day, it was a relatively long hike for us, and we'd done 10 miles the day before. But that was a Sunday, and on Monday, Sandy hit. So we knew that storm was coming, and so we were going to finish that day, but we also were anxious to get out of the woods that day.
Of
because Sandy
course.
hit that next day.
Remember, we ran into a guy that was
Right.
had stopped early staying at one of the shelters, and he'd heard, I guess you can now hear on your cell phone or whatever, you can get weather alerts, and he knew that there was a storm coming, so he was sort of battening down his, I mean, we thought he should leave, but
But I've always wondered what happened to
Yeah,
him.
he's-
He spent a couple days up there while Sandy was raging through.
Wow.
So, but no, we have never felt. People are really nice on the trail. They're very helpful. We always have, not always, but we can always probably get cell service as needed. So
really?
we
Not
do
Verizon, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's spotty. I mean,
I see.
kids got AT&T and Verizon, so you know we have a little bit of this and that, and it is spotty. But at some point on the trail, we can usually.
Now, do you have, like, you leave a car somewhere, or do your husbands
Yes.
or your significant others help you out with this, or
times.
how?
We
how
have to
does
give
that-
a shout out to
how does
someone-
that work?
to my David and Henry and Tim Parent, who have all helped us, picked us up, dropped us off at various wild places.
Otherwise, it takes hours. I mean, now
hours.
now when you're in northern Vermont, it can take. Would you say it took you 4 hours to?
Right.
Yeah.
You took you 4 hours to get to the start of just between.
Yeah,
Because
getting
you're
there.
not, you know, it's the
Yeah.
little back roads and
detours that we didn't know about. and-
So the downside of
Yeah.
doing the section hike as we are doing it is that we spend so much time driving to the end point with two cars, leaving a car, driving to the beginning point, and it literally can take hours. But we have remarked many times we have seen towns in Vermont we never knew existed. I was
Oh,
so
I can
excited. We went to
imagine.
Jerusalem, Vermont the other day. Have you ever been to Jerusalem,
No,
Vermont?
I didn't
there
even
you
know
go.
it existed. See?
Yeah. So we've seen some
Tiny
beautiful parts
house-
of Vermont
towns
that we
and-
never, like Janet said, we never would have found. You know, little cute towns and just
Beautiful
Just
scenery.
meeting people, I'm
Yeah,
sure. Just
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because people
Yeah.
are absolutely
Right.
wonderful, and
Yeah.
it's just so much fun to.
they're funny. They're so individual and so sort of private. Like we happened to hike on Halloween one year, and so we decided we would wear costumes. And the funny thing was that we ran into this guy that was hiking the other direction, and we had a long conversation with him. He didn't once comment on what we were wearing, and we were looking at each other saying, does he think this is normally what we wear?
So what did you wear? What were you dressed up as?
Well, We do have to mention that our fourth colleague's not here today. Jen Parent, who lives in Danby, also hikes the trail with us, and she couldn't be here. But Jen and I just had witches' hats on, so we were pretty tame. These two,
What did they have?
I had on like a leopard skin leopard outfit
With a
like
tail. With a tail.
Really attractive. And Kit was a hockey player.
she had her hockey
I had my
was
hockey
warm.
gear. Well, I just had I had my hockey socks on and a hockey jersey. I didn't wear the skates or the helmet.
Do you actually play hockey?
I did. I played hockey till I was 50.
Did you really?
Yeah, ice hockey, that is.
Good
yes.
for you. Were you with the here?
I never played up here. I played in Philadelphia for
okay.
years. I played
the
in
Rusty
college.
Blaze, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played
they're
in college
amazing.
and in grad school,
Yeah.
and then I
Yeah.
played in a club team for a lot of years.
Oh, that's so cool. Our daughter played, and then actually she started a co-ed team up at the UVM Medical School because she had played hockey, and she thought this would be really good for all of them to
Yeah.
kind of unwind.
Yeah.
And so they started it, so it was really neat. But it's great. It's really,
sport.
it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah, it takes it out on your knees, which is why I
Which
have
is
such
why-
terrible arthritis now in my knees. I
Yeah.
think from all that skating is not.
But that's great. That's really, really great. That's so much fun. So any other kind of interesting kind of little tidbits that at different times that you've been, did you ever feel like you were stranded?
No.
No, although we had a very interesting hike at one point. Again, in order to like not hike 15 or 20 miles in a day, which we can't really do, and we we're doing a section of the trail by the Chittenden Reservoir. And we had parked our cars, and we knew where our car was from the trail, but there was no trail down to our car, so we bushwhacked it through. I don't know where.
How did you do that?
Well, we had a compass,
You had a compass
on,
on
my
your
phone.
phone.
And it was
And
April.
it-
So the leaves
there were
weren't
no
fully out in the
leaves.
trees. So we could
Right.
really see.
We could see
There was
where
a
we
body
were
of the
going.
water or
See your
something.
car? Could you see
Well, we
see
couldn't
the-
see the
yeah.
car right away,
Car.
but it was the Chittenden Reservoir, and there were a couple other swampy areas
Swampy
or ponds
areas.
or something, and so we really had a pretty good sense of what direction we needed to go in, and we just headed in that direction, and we came out right by our car. So that was pretty exciting
that is
and
pretty
really
neat.
kind of fun.
I don't think we'll ever do that.
No,
it
I
was
don't.
it was
fun
pretty
and
stupid.
fun in
Yeah,
retrospect,
yeah,
maybe,
right.
but it was.
When you
It's
look
not.
back
I mean,
on
it's
it.
hard enough walking on the trail because the long trail goes through the Green Mountains, and you're always on rocks and roots, and but at least it's more or less
Right.
clear. But this, now you're going over rocks and roots and bushes, and it was a challenge.
Yeah,
I think one of our other ones was when we hiked from Prospect Rock over to Route 1130,
Right around
just
here,
south
right
of
here.
Bromley. And so we did it. I wrote it down, I think it was in April.
Yeah.
And there was still 4 feet of snow on the ground. So we did it in snowshoes, and there was
wow.
there was no trail. Nobody had been hiking it. I mean, the long trail is marked with a rectangle white blaze.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. How do you know where
Yeah.
you're going? You have
Yeah.
these
It's a
things are up
blaze,
there?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we followed the blazes, but there was no
You
trail.
couldn't see the trail. We
Yeah.
were just in snowy woods.
It was just snowy woods. It was beautiful.
How beautiful is that?
It was beautiful. It was a real yeah.
But it was funny because the trail is normally flat, and even though this was along the side of a slope, and you're walking on a flat area, but because there was so much snow, it was at a slope. So the whole time you're hiking on, as you can imagine, on snowshoes, side slope. So it was
And those snowshoes, they're big.
Yeah.
we had the more modern
You have
kinds,
the smaller ones,
lighter,
yeah,
slightly
yeah.
lighter ones. So,
Yeah,
but
but,
it's
still, that was an adventure.
and it was
then
Jen's
going up-
first hike with us.
That was Jen's
Jen's
first hike
hike
with
with
us.
Jen Parent started with us that day, and we were surprised she stayed with us, but nonetheless she did, because she had started the hike with her daughters and her husband, and so she caught up to us over time, but she started with us there. So that's-
Oh, that's so.
and then there was the hike up over Bromley, on the backside of Bromley. We did that a couple weeks later, and there was still snow up to here.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was remarkable. I mean, they ask you not to hike, especially as the trail goes north, really much before Memorial Day, because they don't.
The snow.
There's snow and it's wet, and you can damage the plants and so forth. So,
So
they really
they're not
want
too concerned about you, but they just
I know.
want
Right,
to
exactly.
damage the plants.
Exactly.
Oh, it must be beautiful, though. I mean, at different times when you.
Well, that's what's been fun too. Last spring we hiked, and literally the woods were carpeted with wildflowers.
Oh, yeah.
So beautiful.
Now, have you gotten pictures of this? I mean,
Yes,
you
I have
got-
pictures. I haven't done much with it yet, but
Yeah.
we'll eventually. We sort of documented, both some of the places, but the ferns and the flowers and some of the things that we've seen.
What a wonderful book that would be.
Yeah.
You are going to do
Yeah.
a book, I'm sure.
Well, you're right, Sal. That'll be our next show,
when we
Sally.
retire. Right. The next challenge.
Yeah.
We're enough with these physical challenges. Now we're going to do an intellectual challenge.
But I think it's so exciting that you came up with this idea and that you follow through on it, and that it's just, I think it gives me and all of our listeners something to think about. Is there something that you've wanted to do, or that's kind of a little idea up there that you think, oh, I don't think I could do that, or I don't think, but if you take it and break it up the way you have,
Right.
now before you started, did you sit down and talk about this and figure out how are we
No.
going to do it?
No,
No.
we just
We
said
just got in
let's
the
hike.
car and drove
Yeah,
down.
let's hike the long trail. We really weren't quite sure what that meant exactly.
Uh-huh.
We hadn't looked at this book much or talked to too many people, and we just said let's just do this.
And that's kind of interesting, because knowing each one of you, and and I know you, but I'm not saying that I know you all that well, except for Robin. But I would think that you were kind of planners. That you were people who spontaneous in some ways, but basically kind of plan.
Well, it's become more planned.
Yes.
After
Yes.
it was a sort of a lark initially, but now it's much more.
Yes.
Jan, I don't plan. I am a planner, however, but for this, psychologically, these two look at the map and they just put me in the front and say,
Go.
go. And so they've got it all planned. They don't even tell me if we're going a mountain, down, or flat, or whatever. I just follow the blazes. And but we definitely look
Yeah.
now, at this point.
Now we
they
are
look-
much more.
But I mean, when you decided to do it, it wasn't something that you kind of had thought
Well, I think we
about.
did that initial hike thinking that let's see what this is all about, and let's see if
And
this
it's okay
really
if
is
we
something.
decide not to do it.
Yes,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, this is a day hike, and because we drove down to Williamstown, it was a lovely day, and if that's all we ever did, fine.
It would be okay.
But we just thought, well, let's start, and then it really wasn't until we'd maybe done 15 miles or so that we thought, we could probably actually really do this thing. And then we did this Glastonbury Wilderness hike, the overnight, and that was pretty early on.
Wow.
I think it was in section 2, and so it was pretty early on. And at that point, we were pretty committed.
Yeah.
So we really.
And it is the kind of thing that once you get started on it, it's really something that becomes part of who you are.
Well, it is. I personally feel that the challenge, we've accepted this challenge, and physically, it's a challenge, and I feel really good about that, and feel like, it's out of our comfort zone. Certainly out of
Yeah.
our comfort zone.
Well, I think
it was.
That
It
is
was.
definitely something for all of us.
Yeah. Right.
To
Right.
see that this is something that you did decide to do out of your comfort
Right.
zone,
Right.
and look at how great it's turning out.
Our last hike, we did ladders on this trail between the Lincoln Gap and the Appalachian Gap, and so they literally have metal bars that are sunk into the rock faces. So we happened to be going north, so we went down these ladders on the trail, and it was steep. It was interesting.
It's like that TV show. What's the name of it? Where they have
Oh, they do all those crazy
crazy
things.
challenges.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think we'll ever do that TV show.
Yeah, we're not going there.
This show is enough.
Right, exactly.
Now, what are those?
Well, these are just, I had written some notes about some of the memorable hikes that we
Hiking
did,
goals.
that we've been talking about, our Bromley hikes and our snow hikes and our Halloween hike. And
I love that. I think that you dressed up. That's absolutely
yeah.
right.
Oh, we had a Mother's Day hike.
a Mother's Day
which
hike.
actually wasn't on Mother's Day in the end, but we had we had Robin's son Willie was there, Jen's son Eric and her husband Tim, and my daughter Meg, and my husband David. So we had a Mother's Day hike where we invited.
So every now and then we have
Guest
guest
hikers.
appearances. And so we're not totally exclusive,
Yeah.
People can come.
But your family, you do include them every once in a while.
Yeah.
So Alice
think
has hiked with us a number of times. She's
Right.
been
Yeah.
our most consistent, and it's been really wonderful.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Incorporating them into it.
Yeah, it
Now,
is.
What are those things?
Oh, these. Sorry, is that what you
Yeah.
meant? So these are our poles, right? And so.
And do you bring those with you each
Oh
time?
yes, we do. We do. We hike with our poles, and most people do.
Uh-huh.
Not everybody, but I mean they should have little what do you call those
Baskets,
baskets
yeah.
on them. I've lost mine, but so you can use these. It's good when you're crossing streams. It's just the trail has a lot of roots, a lot of rocks. It can be very slippery and muddy.
I can
so
imagine.
we Jen uses her ski poles. But we've all gotten our little hiking poles, so you can adjust the size if you're going up down. We don't tend to do that too much, but we do. We use our hiking poles, and we use them every time we go.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Now,
it's a nice
the trail is how long?
272 plus miles.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
Totally unbelievable. And where are you now? How?
So we've gotten up to Appalachian Gap just outside of Bristol, and so we've done 163 miles. So we've got
Wow.
110. And the northern section, so the other challenge has been that there are 5 peaks in Vermont that are over 4,000 feet. There's Killington, Camel's Hump,
Do you climb them?
Mount Mansfield,
Oh.
Mount Abe, and Mount Ellen. So we did Killington, and that was a real challenge because we were a little nervous about it. Just it's over 4,000. We thought, okay, this is high.
But you got up there.
We did it, and that was like really not
How was
It
it?
was really easy.
It's beautiful.
Actually.
That was actually,
that was
We were
easier.
really nervous about it.
Yeah,
It was our really
yeah.
first big peak that we were doing.
Right.
And we were all like, oh my God, can we do this? And then all of a
Now-
sudden we were like, yeah, we can do this.
How was the breathing? I mean, did you have any?
We have our moments, but no, we're really good. It's good.
We stop.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
we stop when we feel like
we
it.
don't do this fast. I mean, we
Yeah.
don't.
No, you're enjoying it. I mean, you're not
Yes.
pushing yourself. I mean,
No.
there must be some times when you have to push.
Well, there is
have to
when
go
we do,
beyond.
especially as we get later into the fall because of daylight hours. So that's an issue. But usually in the fall, if we know it's long, we'll start earlier in the morning to get the daylight. So that's our main problem.
What about coming down Killington? That must have been.
Sometimes coming down is a little bit more difficult,
I was
especially
gonna
on
say,
knees, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's
Yeah,
more
you really
difficult.
have to. I think watching some of these wilderness programs, not that I watch a lot of them, but it gives you a sense of what it is like.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not all that. And then I know
Yeah.
Art Gilbert, who is our cameraman, hi Art,
Hi, Art.
is quite a hiker.
Yeah.
And he hikes all the time, and it's just a wonderful thing to do. And I think because we have such beautiful terrain,
It's beautiful.
we're so
Yeah,
we're
it's
so
beautiful.
gifted, and
It's beautiful.
we're so grateful.
Yeah.
Do you have any special things that you'd like to share with our audience about what you're doing and how you feel about it? What has this meant to you? Robin, start with
It's
you.
a real sense of accomplishment, and I think that started with our half marathon. I mean, and if anybody had told me 10 years ago, or even 8 years ago, that I would not only walk a half marathon, but be hiking the long trail, I would have said you're nuts. I mean, that was never anything I considered doing. It just wasn't, in my future at all. And to be accomplishing it is really cool, and I think it's amazing at our age
And you're
Our
all
advanced
babes.
to be doing it.
Absolutely,
You
I think
know,
it's
I mean,
fabulous,
it's
yeah.
something that 20 and 30-year-olds do, probably not 50-somethings do, and
Or 60-something.
or 60-somethings. But I mean, we'll finish a section hike, and the first thing I do is I go home and I sit on the couch and have a glass of wine, and Henry brings me dinner, and I immediately pull out the Long Trail book and read what the next section is. I mean, so it's
Wow.
never like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm
I'm
done,
done.
I'm never
No,
doing this
yeah.
again. It's sometimes when I'm huffing and puffing up the hills, I think I will never do this again. But then,
But then
once I'm
when you think
home with
of it,
my glass
when
of
you
wine, I'm
rethink it,
like, okay,
I can do this.
I can do this again.
Kit, how about you?
Well, I mean, I actually have stopped. The last hike I did not do, and that to me, that's been the lesson here is that. I mean, I loved the challenge, but my knees are so deteriorated at this point that it got to the point where we had done a 15-mile. Actually, it wasn't even. We did a practice hike this spring, and it was 15 miles, and I realized that. I was hurting the
just-
entire way. Whereas when we first started doing this, I would be able, 8 miles seemed to be my limit, and after 8, then I was in pain. But this, I was in pain the entire time, and so this has been it's been an interesting lesson for me because I'm not I don't quit, and I do like to set goals and meet them. But it was, it was.
But isn't it something to be able to say it's okay?
It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've done this, and I've enjoyed it, and it's been wonderful, and it's okay to stop. I think that's an incredible lesson, because I think we all give ourselves these goals, and if we don't meet them, then it's just a disaster.
Right.
But we don't have to. It's a matter of, and I think it's wonderful that you can say, hey, look what I did.
And maybe if I get, if they keep talking about knee replacement surgery, maybe I'll pick it up.
Yeah.
And,
But listening to your body, because I think we can, especially as women, we get so stubborn and we're so determined, and we're going to push ourselves no matter what. But to listen to your body and say, okay, all right, I'll listen to you. I won't do it. I think it's great that you've done it, and that you're able to say.
Yeah, it's a hard lesson to learn, but it's something that unfortunately we're probably going to have to learn.
Yeah, we miss her very much.
I know.
But you call her when you come back.
It's sad to know they're out there and I'm not.
They
but,
keep you updated, though, I'm
yeah,
sure.
they do.
And you'll always be a part of it.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's, and I really, especially admire you for being able to do it, and to be able to say, enough. Yeah, that's great. That really is cool. It's a good lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
Really. What about you?
Well, in addition to what Robin and Kit have said, it's a group of women, and we are family. We are friends. We've it's and Jen is a part of our group, and the four of us have this extraordinary friendship.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with the fact that we have accomplished what we've already accomplished, and are continuing, and it's the journey of doing this
And doing it
this
together.
trip and doing it together
As women, which is a
And
wonderful
I think we sometimes are like, oh yeah, we can't do it without help of family and friends, with driving and so forth, but it's a great feeling that we're doing this group of women.
Well, I think that all four of you, with Jen not being here, but all four of you are absolutely wonderful, and such a fabulous example to all of us. And it's just been a lot of fun. I'm so glad that we did this, because I think so many
thank
women
you,
out there are going to
Sally.
say, hey, it doesn't have to be hiking. It could be something else,
Right.
whatever it is.
Right.
Come together and do something that's fun. And just thank you so much
Thank
for being
you for
here.
having
This
us,
has
Sally.
been really so much fun. Let's say goodbye to everybody. I hope that you've all enjoyed this as much as we have. And hey, do something. And until next time, let's talk. Bye-bye.